I think obviously through both SpaceX and Starlink, Elon Musk already has significant security clearances within the United States government, and obviously as an appointee of President Trump, has additional security clearances. There's no question, obviously, though, that any conflicts should be addressed beforehand. I think from what I saw from the Pentagon, that in their statement, they said that this was an invitation by Secretary Hegseth for Elon Musk to come visit with the secretary. They did not provide actual details on what the meeting would be.
But, I mean, are you concerned about the fact that he would be given a briefing about war plans? I mean, these are literally the most sensitive of secrets. And yes,
well, considering that the United States,
because just because you have a security clearance, as you know, doesn't mean that you have access to everything. Security clearances at the highest level are on a need-to-know basis. Documents like this, in particular, and so the need to know is the question here, and the conflicts on the other side of that ledger, which is someone who has business interests in the relevant country and also has competition interests trying to kick other contractors potentially out of contracts for these very war plans. Is that concerning?
Look, again, any conflicts of interest should be addressed. But in the case of, obviously, Starlink, we see the United States military is utilizing Starlink with respect to military plans. The United States Navy uses it significantly. Obviously, when you're talking about issues pertaining to China and their expansion in the Indo-Pacific, the threats against Taiwan, obviously, these are significant issues. So, look, any conflict should be addressed, no question about that. But it is the secretary and the president that actually have the authority to provide the need to know.
They do, but it doesn't mean that it's wise, Congressman.
So notice Congressman Lawler did not answer the yes or no question. Should this be concerning? Yes, absolutely. Elon Musk is trying to be the real-life Tony Stark, and we can see him coming a mile away. We don't trust Elon Musk. That's why the American people are up in arms in protests and in town halls in Republican districts across the country. They are pissed off based on what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing, firing tens of thousands of workers only for the courts to reverse the firing. This is absolutely a conflict of interest, but the Trump administration and Elon Musk, they don't care. Elon is trying to be the first trillionaire, and he wants to be an oligarch that not just controls American governments, he wants to control world governments. And Congressman Lawler is not going to criticize him because Elon Musk is a major donor to Congressman Lawler's re-election campaigns, and that's the problem. We don't have Republicans in Congress.
True, Congressman
yes,
Lawler?
it is very true.
He's a major donor to your campaigns?
Not directly.
I just want to make sure.
No, not directly to my campaign. He had a independent expenditure that he spent on dozens of congressional races.
Second biggest recipient of the money after Donald Trump.
We're devolving into this fetish, this cult, this hatred against Elon Musk. I don't know.
It's none of those
things.
things.
Yes, it is, though, because every single thing about Elon Musk has now resulted in people burning Teslas in major cities.
Hold on a second. This story is not about any of those things. This is actually a basic story about national security.
Right.
About whether or not someone who has the interest in for example, other contractors who have access to Pentagon dollars having access to special information that they don't have and keeping them out of their contracts. And he has business with a government that we have described.
Are not involved.
We have business. When our defense contractors get these big contracts, they cannot have other contracts with other foreign adversaries. That's a national security issue.
Yeah, understood. However, again, this is someone whose products, his innovations, right, are being used by the American military as we speak. This is someone who the government relied on to rescue 2 astronauts from space because no one else could do it. Maybe I'm the crazy one at the table, but I'm actually comfortable with someone who is incredibly effective at putting small objects and large objects into orbit over China.
Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable with potentially Elon Musk showing these plans or giving intelligence to
You're just
China?
making that
I'm
up.
not. I am not. I am saying that is why, as Abby was saying, hold on, Abby, this is why Abby was saying it's on a need-to-know basis. It's a need-to-know basis because only a handful of people have this information. Not only that, I was a former Justice Department official up until 2 months ago, and I had a security clearance. What I will tell you is I was. Hold on. Can you let the woman?
Go ahead. You interrupted me. I was talking here. You interrupted me.
I will tell you is that it is
she's allowed to talk.
The Pentagon, what is happening here, and everyone needs to be scared, is Pentagon officials are sounding the alarm. This doesn't just happen on its own. This has happened because career officials within the Pentagon are terrified, and they believe that there is a conflict of interest. That is why it is in the New York Times, because I am sure they took it to the senior-most people within the White House and within the Pentagon, and they didn't do anything about it. And when people asked me when I left the Justice Department, how do we know that there is something unethical happening here? And I said, it will be the career officials within the Justice Department who will sound the alarm if something happens.
So that is exactly, by the way, where were those career officials?
What is happening
where were those career officials when Joe Biden was basically incoherent as president of the United States, and you had officials within the White House running the show, creating a disaster all around the globe? Where were those career?
He was not creating
bureaucrats?
A disaster. This
really?
is a national security.
You think that what happened by allowing China to purchase Iranian petroleum to the tune of $200 billion and funding Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis was not a disaster? Are you kidding me?
Wait, go back to this. Do you really think Elon Musk is going to sell?
I cannot believe it.
Republicans just say scary words.
Scary words.
Let Sarah get in here.
The issue is just that there is not a uniform understanding of whether or not we trust Elon Musk. Right? Clearly, you think that it's just crazy that Democrats don't trust him.
But you trust the CEO of Raytheon?
But here's what I would say up to that. That is the clear issue. So if Elon Musk was an elected official, the Americans could, with their vote, decide whether or not he's someone that they trust with America's national security. Because they didn't get to vote him in, that's why I think you're seeing a lot of this uproar. Typically, a lot of career officials, they're not necessarily elected, but a lot of career officials work their way up, and Americans trust them because they put the time, effort, and energy into public service.
The executives
that
at other defense contractors are also not elected.
One more thing on the media side.
This elected official, Elon Musk, is part of the fetish.
Hold on a second, both Sarah
You're all
and
obsessed
Joe.
with this guy.
Joe, just a second. What evidence do you have that the CEO, let's just say Raytheon, since you keep bringing it up, has business conflicts in China?
I don't know, but Boeing sells airplanes to China, and they're a defense contractor.
What is the business conflicts on the military side? Do you have any evidence of that?
No, I have more evidence probably of that than she does, that Elon Musk is going to snap a picture.
I don't have evidence. I'm saying this is a concern that was raised in the New York Times article.
If you have that evidence, then what is it?
Again, there's probably... We could do it on the break, right? We can Google it on the break.
I guess what I'm trying to say here...
She's making the point that I'm trying to make is that there's a fetish. It's bizarre.
It's not a fetish.
The New York Times reported.
It's a concern for our national security.
We can just bring this up out of
I've learned a lot about the New York Times.
Let's take a step back for a moment.
Hang on a second. One at a time. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, Congressman.
We are sitting here on March, what is this?
20th.
Whatever date it is, talking about a potential war with China on the same day that the Department of Education was shut down and hungry, poor children across this country may not be able to have school lunches and breakfast in school.
I don't know what
it hurts their learning. Let me tell you what that has to do with it. Our priorities during this dictatorship and this oligarchy are completely screwed up. It's a military-industrial complex. It's a corporatocracy, and it's Elon Musk who is stealing from the government, going into federal offices, downloading data. We have no idea what the hell he's doing with the data. This is why Americans are up in arms, not just Democrats. Americans are up in arms across the country because we don't trust Elon Musk.
Let me just add one more.
The New York Times reported this, man.
Joe and Jamal, just give me 1 second here, because the other element of this that is raised in the story is the potential that this has to do with Doge cuts, that Elon and Doge are looking to make dramatic cuts to the Pentagon and don't understand the military importance of some of these programs that they're looking to cut. On top of that, Elon has been particularly critical of certain contracts. Again, contracts where he stands to benefit if his competitors are pushed out. And that part of it, should he be making decisions about what to cut if he does not have a fundamental understanding of why they are needed? And no, you don't need to know what the war plans are in order to understand how the military uses its contracts and its supplies to prepare for a war with any entity, including China.
So, first of all, I've heard my Democratic colleagues for years talk about the need to downsize the Pentagon and downsize the spending.
I don't think that's the question. I think the question is,